The Shadow People, one of the most famous and long-lasting urban legends in modern history. And the thing is, with these urban legends, they tend to be isolated to a specific country or region, but in the case of the Shadow People, it's not. This urban legend has been around the world. It's been around so long it's hard to tell where it exactly originated from. Regardless of where this legend came from, the topic of Shadow People has started to gain traction over the years. It first started when Wes Craven made The Nightmare on Elm Street, which was actually inspired by stories of shadow people, leading to him making Freddy Krueger, which makes sense if you think about it because shadow people are most commonly seen during sleep paralysis. But the idea of shadow people wasn't mainstream until around 2001, where it's widely credited that its popularity kicked off after radio host Art Bell had taken a random caller on his show Coast to Coast in April 2001. I covered another story about Art Bell in a past video, so if you are interested I'll leave a link for you. But basically this random caller told Art a very interesting story about shadow people. This intrigued Art, leading to him asking his audience to send in any stories they might have with these entities, and saying some people could relate is an understatement. 4,500 listeners sent in their stories about shadow people. This is where a lot of people heard the story about shadow people, making this topic hit mainstream. So with so many people experiencing sighting of these shadow people, why is it that we see them? What do they want? Well, to answer these questions, we first need to know the different types of shadow people. Surprisingly, shadow people manifest in various forms, each with its own eerie characteristics. The first form resembles a swirling black mist, devoid of any discernible shape or form, almost akin to smoke billowing in the air. What sets this apart as a shadow person is the palpable sense of presence that accompanies its appearance, a feeling of being watched or accompanied by an unseen entity. Then we encounter humanoid shadows, entities devoid of distinct facial features yet possessing an unmistakable aura of observation. Despite the lack of definitive features, one can feel the weight of their gaze, sending shivers down the spine. Similar to the mist-like manifestations, these figures often vanish when directly confronted, adding to their mystique and elusiveness. One of, if not the most dangerous, is the demonic shadow people, reported to be particularly menacing. Sharing the humanoid form, they are distinguished by their piercing, glowing eyes, most commonly crimson but also witnessed in shades of yellow, light blue, and even green. What sets them apart is their unnerving ability to communicate, often taunting and issuing threats, instilling fear and dread in those unfortunate enough to encounter them. In extreme cases, they have been known to physically assault their victims, with reports of attempted strangulation. And then there's the most infamous of them all, the Hatman. This shadowy figure, as we'll delve into later in the video, is often described as a tall, imposing presence donning a hat, typically a fedora or wide-brimmed hat. The Hatman's appearances are frequently linked to malevolent encounters, adding to the fear surrounding his mysterious presence. Regardless of the specific type encountered, sightings of shadow people are commonly regarded as ominous signs, evoking feelings of unease and terror. Yet, the question remains, why do so many individuals report encountering these entities? To solve that, we must first explore the potential video evidence surrounding shadow people encounters, to really see if this phenomenon is as real as it seems. Okay, so when looking at these videos, it goes without saying that almost anything can be edited to look real. So when we look at these videos, just keep that in mind that these videos are basically 98% fake. In the first clip, a man goes down to his basement to investigate the sound of a woman crying.
Hello? No. Hello? No!
Alright, so let's get straight to the point. This video is fake. It's most likely someone else standing there making the figure. So out of all these clips, this one is most likely the most fake. But this next video actually looks like it could be taken seriously. I will say that compared to the other video, I really don't have much to say to try to debunk this. We can see that the ceiling light is shaking, which could just be by a fishing line, but what's quite convincing is the light flicker. I first thought that the person was hiding in the right corner of the kitchen because of how the video enters the room, but when she exits the kitchen, it's apparent that there would have been no room for someone to hide. In this next clip, it's a video of a guy testing out his new Xbox Kinect. Okay, so this video is actually very disturbing, and I know what you're all thinking, it's video edited, right? Well, actually the guy who made this video actually proved the video hasn't been altered, which this is extremely weird, because if someone were to do this with no video editing, getting a shadow that dark and prominent would be extremely difficult. The last clip I got is actually regarded as the best form of evidence, not only for the existence of shadow people, but also one of the best paranormal evidence of all time. That's because when this video was put out, video editing was almost non-existent, making many state this is the best evidence that shadow people are actually real. I'm going to be honest with you, this video really doesn't convince me, even though it would be extremely difficult for someone at this time to edit a video like this. It just doesn't look real. The only convincing part about this to me is that you can actually see the reflection of the shadow in the mirror, which would be nearly impossible to do at that time. I don't know, even though these are supposedly the most convincing evidence of shadow people, I don't know if I'm convinced, especially with today's technology. It's hard to say any of these can actually be any type of proof. Given that many first-hand accounts of shadow people originate from individuals who were in a state of sleep, there's a notion that these entities might simply be manifestations of our dreams. Specifically, there seems to be a direct correlation with sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis often involves hallucinations, leading to the proposition that these shadowy figures might be common hallucinations occurring during episodes of sleep paralysis. This would explain the reported inability to move in their presence and the common recollection of being in a state of slumber just before encountering them. Upon reflecting on the many personal stories shared, it's conceivable that sleep paralysis could offer a plausible explanation. However, it raises questions about the similarities of these encounters. If they were merely products of our individual subconscious, wouldn't the stories exhibit more diversity? Additionally, what about accounts from individuals who claim to have seen these entities while fully awake? We most likely won't get a scientific explanation for this. This is due to our lack of understanding of the mind when in a dream state, leaving us to question if it really is just a trick our mind is playing on us. Okay, so what about seeing them when fully awake in the corner of our eye? Is it just our peripheral vision mistaking things as human figures? Well, I may not be an expert, but scientific research has indicated that our peripheral vision is not entirely reliable. Our peripheral vision primarily detects movement rather than details, often prompting our brains to fill in the gaps when we catch something in our peripheral view. Applying this logic to the numerous stories of individuals spotting shadow people out of the corner of their eyes, it wouldn't make sense for our peripheral vision to catch such details. The only real explanation of this is if there was really something there, One of the more unusual ideas about these entities is that they might be aliens and maybe they can shift in and out of our physical world. I mean, it's like they could be some odd kind of extraterrestrial just hanging around and observing us for who knows what reason. People who buy into this theory also think that these shadow figures are always around us. We just don't often notice them. Personally, this theory seems a bit far-fetched to me. I couldn't find any evidence to support it, so it's probably just a collective theory rather than it being with real evidence. The thing is about the shadow people, regardless of everyone who believes they have seen them, this just isn't enough there to truly support any of these theories, and we most likely won't know anytime soon. A very popular theory about the shadow people is that these entities could be demonic in nature. Many encounters with shadow people carry an overwhelmingly negative aura, evoking feelings of darkness, dread, and horror. Disturbing reports even suggest instances of these entities physically harming individuals, resembling actions attributed to demonic entities. Notably the Hatman, a type of shadow person who stands out with very different features than the others. The Hatman clearly has a hat, which actually will vary by culture. Some say it's a fedora, some say it's a top hat. Regardless of what it is, seeing the Hatman is usually very bad news. In many cases, those who will see the Hatman will face life-threatening issues, sometimes bad luck, severe sicknesses, and in the worst cases, even death. The Hatman is a mysterious figure with theories about his nature and origin varying widely. Some attribute him to the category of shadow people, while others entertain the idea that he might be an extraterrestrial being or an interdimensional entity sent from a distant future or another plane of existence. And there are those who believe he is a malevolent demon, and some even assert that he is the devil himself. I covered the Hatman in my Benadryl challenge video, so I'll leave a link for that if you want to check it out. But for those who haven't, the Hatman is one of, if not the most reported shadow person on this topic. More specifically, the Hatman is a very common sighting when taking large amounts of Benadryl, which goes back to the idea that these shadow figures are closely linked to sleep. That would actually make sense because of the fact that Benadryl, which is diphenhydramine, has a very common side effect which is sleep, so taking heavy amounts of this would trigger vivid dreams, hallucinations, or sleep disturbances after taking it. I know this still leaves questions unsolved, and I would love to continue giving information on the Hatman, but the thing is that information on this topic is very scarce and hard to find, and unfortunately it looks like we are not going to know the truth of the Hatman any time soon. Well, I gotta say, this whole thing about shadow people definitely has me scratching my head. I mean, so many people around the world keep talking about seeing this creepy, dark, human-like figure that lurks in the corner of their vision. It's just plain weird how people from all sorts of different backgrounds and places keep describing what basically seems like the same mysterious shadow figures. You would think if these were just hallucinations or the mind-playing tricks, people would see all kinds of stuff. But nope. Over and over again, it's this hat-wearing shadow man or figure making appearances. It's extremely strange. And look, I know science says this could be linked to stuff like sleep paralysis or hypnagogia, which is when you're halfway between being awake and asleep and can visually hallucinate. But even so, why would so many people see the same exact shadow people independently? Maybe these sightings really do mean that shadow people exist way beyond our normal senses and understanding of reality. Maybe there's a whole shadow world that we can only glimpse pieces of from time to time. It certainly makes you think. Or hey, maybe it is just how the human mind works. We all have built-in tendencies to see certain imagery more than others when hallucinating, but even that raises questions about the shadowy corners of the subconscious that we all seem to share. I don't know, let me know what you think in the comments below. I read every single comment and I love talking with you guys. And real quick before I end the video, I wanted to inform you that I set up channel memberships for the channel. It's 99 cents a month to get perks such as custom gifts, exclusive behind-the-scene photos, and access to some videos before they officially release to the channel. Don't worry, this is the only time I'm going to mention this in a video, and please do not feel obligated to join. It's really there for people who want to support the channel more than just watching. I love you guys, stay safe, and as always, thanks for watching.